Hello friends, welcome to my channel. In this video, I will explain you how to launch an EC2 instance and how to install Java and Tomcat on this instance and how to do the basic configuration for Tomcat. We will also try to host a simple web application or a website onto this instance. Those who want to learn AWS, they are offering a free tier account which you can register and use their services for free for 1 year, and you can get familiar with the AWS services. So as you can see, AWS is offering these services for free. So there are some limitations in each of the services. So if we exceed those limitations, then only we will have to pay for it. Otherwise we can use it for free for 1 year. Okay, so you can follow this link and create your free account. So once you create your account, you can sign in to your AWS management console. So this is the AWS management console. Since we are going to create an EC2 server, so in services we can search EC2. As you can see, that is the first option here. So these are all the AWS services that are available. So let's proceed with EC2. Okay, so this is the EC2 dashboard that you see here. Now before we proceed further, let me explain you about the AWS regions. So as you can see, there are multiple regions that are available here. So AWS data centers are spread across multiple geographical locations. So as you can see in this map, the AWS regions are geographically located at different places across the world, and each of these regions have multiple availability zones. Say for example, Canada Central has 3 availability zones, Ohio has 3 availability zones. So like that, there are multiple availability zones in each of these regions. There can be 2, 3 or up to a maximum of 6 to 7 availability zones in one region. So we will be proceeding with the US East 1 region today. Okay. And as you can see, in US East 1 there are 6 availability zones, and it is showing us the status of each of the availability zones. So since we don't have any instances created as of now, so we have 0 running instances. So let's go and launch an instance. So this page contains a list of all the available Amazon machine images which can be used to create our EC2 instance. These images are nothing but a template using which we will be creating an instance. So let's select the first instance and we will go with the 64-bit x86 version. In this page we can select the type of instance. So since we are working with a free tier instance, so we need to stick with the T2 micro instance. If we select any other instance, we will have to pay for it. So let's keep the default option and move on to the next page. Okay, so this is the main configuration page where we have to select the VPC. VPC is nothing but the virtual private cloud. So since we have not created any other VPC, so we have one default VPC. We have to also select a subnet. So these are the default subnets that are available. We can select any of it. So let's select this subnet. Subnet resides in an availability zone. So each subnet will be having a different range of IP addresses. So when we create an instance in a particular subnet, so we will be getting an IP address within that IP range. So if you need a different IP range, we will have to select a different subnet. Keep this setting as enabled, because if we don't enable it, then we will not get a public IP. We require a public IP to connect to this instance. We can keep the rest of the options as default, and we can proceed to the next option. We have one more option here to launch the EC2 instance in an auto-scaling group. Now auto-scaling group means that whenever there is a load whenever the load on our server increases, so AWS will automatically add additional servers so that these additional servers will handle the load. So this auto scaling is again a different service in itself, so we won't so I won't be going into much depth into that. So just I was trying to give you an idea about it. So let's move on to the next page, that is add storage. So here we can mostly keep the same default options as it is, but in case you want to increase the storage, we have an option. So as you can see here, since we are using a free tier instance, so we can have up to a maximum of 30 GB. We cannot use more than that, otherwise we will have to pay for it. So let's keep the same default options, and let's move on to the next page, that is the tags. Okay, now this adding tags are optional, but it's better to add tags so that later on it will be easier to identify the applications. Click on next. So this is the page where we configure the security groups. So security group is nothing but it's a set of firewall rules that can be used to control the traffic for our instance. So in this page we can mention the IP addresses of those servers or those clients which can connect to this instance. So either we can add IP addresses here itself, or we will be having an option to add it later also. So even if you don't add the IP here, we can add it later. So just for an example, say for example, if we want to allow traffic, all kinds of traffic, see we have option to filter on the basis of the type of the traffic or the protocol, but in case we want to allow all traffic, that is all protocols and all ports, and the source we have to mention. So if you mention anywhere, so this instance it will accept connections from any IP. If you want to specify the exact IP of the current system, so we can select my IP, so it will auto detect the IP of the system in which you are working. So let's keep it anywhere. So let's move on to the next page, that is review and launch. So here we can see the preview of all the options that we have selected till now. Just have a look at it and then we can click on launch. So in this page we have to create a key pair, and this key pair will be used for connecting to the instance. So instead of going with an existing key pair, I will show you how to create a new key pair. So we have to give any name to this key pair. So we will give it as test. Okay, and we have to click on download key pair. So this PEM file will be downloaded onto our machine. Now we have to make sure that we keep this file secure, because if we lose this file, then we won't be able to connect to this instance. Since we have created the key pair, we can launch the instance. Now this will take some time to launch. In the background it will be launching. We can see the logs from here. If you click on view instances, okay, so this is the EC2 instance that we have created just now. As you can see, it is getting initialized. So initially it will take around 5 to 10 minutes for the server to become stable. So once it becomes stable, this pending state, this orange icon, it will become green. That is an indication that we can start using the instance. And you can see that the instance is having a private IP, it is having a public IP also. Okay, so this instance has been initialized and now it is running properly. Let's try to connect to this instance using PuTTY. So in order to connect to this instance using PuTTY, we need to generate the PuTTY private key file. So as we have downloaded this .pem file, we need to create the ppk file from this file. So in order to create that, we need to have this PuttyGen software. This is a freeware just like Putty that we can download from the internet. So open this, load the PEM file into it. Give it the same name as .pem, but remove the .pem extension. Click on save. Okay, so as you can see, the ppk file has been generated. Now we can close this. Now let's try to connect it using Putty. Copy the public DNS. In Putty, you have to select the private key. Under SSH, inside auth, browse the ppk file. Click on open. When it asks for the login, so enter the username as ec2-user. So now we have logged into this instance that we have created using Putty. We are able to connect to this instance because we have made some changes in the security group. This was the security group that we have selected while launching. So if you go to the security group, this is the security group that is attached to our instance. So if you select the inbound rules, you can actually see which all IPs are allowed to connect to this instance. To show you the importance of this security groups, let me do one thing. I will delete this rule. Okay, let's say I will allow only SMTP connections from anywhere. Okay, and let's save these rules. Okay, so SMTP means port 25. Now let's go back to the EC2 and let's try to connect to this. So I will close this. Okay, so now we have one running instance. Okay, again select the same DNS. Try to connect using Putty. Select the same ppk file. So the reason why we are not able to connect to this now is because we have removed the rule which was allowing us to connect to the instance using SSH port 22. We had only put the SMTP protocol which works on port 25. So effectively we have only allowed port 25 and disabled all the other ports. I showed this example to you just to make you understand about the importance of security groups. So it is like a set of firewall rules, and we can specify which IPs or which protocols or on which ports we will be allowing incoming connection. So now let's go back to our security group and make the necessary changes. Okay, so again edit the inbound rules. This time we will delete all the unnecessary rules. So let's change the type to SSH because I am trying to connect using PuTTY. So PuTTY uses SSH protocol on port 22. Select anywhere. You can also select my IP, but let's keep it anywhere. Save the rules. Now if you try to connect to this instance, we should be able to connect. So since it is asking for login, so it means that we are able to connect. Since this is the first time that we are running this instance, so that is the reason why this is asking to run this command, so that it will update all the packages. So let's just run this command, sudo yum update. It may take some time to install. Okay, it seems it is installed. Let's create a folder inside the user directory. In this folder, we will install Java and Tomcat. Before that, let's install the wget command. The wget command is a command line utility for downloading files from the internet. Okay, so the wget command has been installed. Now we will download the Java JDK. Since our instance is a 64-bit, so we have to select the Linux 64-bit RPM package. After downloading the RPM file, let's bring this file to our instance. We can use WinSCP to copy this file to our instance. We need to select the private key for authentication. There is another way of downloading the file without using WinSCP. You can do this using this command. We have to copy the download link from the Java JDK page, and we have to put that link into this command, and the RPM package will be directly downloaded into the current path. So you can use any of the methods which is convenient to you. I will share these commands in the description below. After copying the file, we have to install the RPM package. To install the Java package, run the command yum install space the file name of the RPM package. Check whether Java has been properly installed or not. This means that Java has been properly installed. Now let's go and download Tomcat. Copy the download link for the Tomcat tar file. And use the wget command to download the tar file directly to our current folder. Now install Tomcat using this command. Now we can remove the RPM file and the tar file because they are no longer needed. Now since Tomcat has been installed, now we can go inside the Tomcat bin folder and start the Tomcat server. To start the Tomcat server, we have to run the script named as startup.sh. After running the startup command, now we can check if the Tomcat service is started or not. We can see that the Tomcat service is running properly now. Now we have to make some configuration changes in Tomcat. So we have to edit this context.xml file. In this file, we can see that there is a valve attribute mentioned here. The purpose of this valve is to block connections from all other IPs apart from the local instance IP. So we have to comment this part. Let's comment this part and save the file. Now we have to restart the Tomcat server so that the changes will get reflected. In order to restart, go back to the bin folder. First run the shutdown script and then run the startup script. Okay, so now that we have restarted Tomcat, let's see if we are able to connect to our Tomcat server from outside this EC2 instance. For example, we will try to connect to this Tomcat server from our web browser. So in order to connect to this Tomcat server, let's copy the public DNS IP from the EC2 console and let's try to connect to this IP using port 8080. Please note that when we install Tomcat, by default it is installed on port 8080. It means that Tomcat will be listening to requests on the port 8080 by default. So using this kind of URL we should be able to connect, but it seems like there is some issue. Okay, so whenever we get this kind of issue, first we have to check the security groups whether we have selected all the required ports or not. As you can see in the inbound rules, we are only allowing port 22 for connection. So maybe this is the problem. Let's see. So as you can see here, the port 8080 is missing. So let's add this port. Save these rules. Now try to open the URL. Okay, so as you can see, we have successfully opened the URL. So since port 8080 was missing in the security groups, that's why it was not allowing us to connect using that port. But the moment we added the port and refreshed it, now the server has started accepting connections on port 8080. So when you see this page, it means that we have successfully installed Tomcat. In order to deploy our applications, we need access to this manager app. In order to get access to this manager app, we need to do some configuration changes. Now make changes to the configuration file tomcatusers.xml. Add this role entry to this file. Save this file and restart the Tomcat server. Now create a simple web application in Eclipse so that we can deploy that application in this server. We need to export the WAR file so that we can deploy it. Now open the Tomcat URL and the application manager. To log into the application manager, use the password that we have just saved in the tomcat.users XML configuration file. Now here browse the WAR file and select it for deploying. After deploying the WAR file, a new link will be generated here. We can click on this link to open the deployed application. So if we want other users to access this application, we have to share this link with them. Hope you have understood the entire process. Thanks for watching this video. If you have any doubts, you can put it on the comment section and I will try to reply to that. I will quickly explain you about the basics of VPC and subnet. So as you can see, VPC is the virtual private cloud, and inside a VPC we have multiple subnets. So each subnet, you can consider each subnet as an availability zone, and each subnet will be having multiple instances that are created inside that subnet, and each subnet will be having a different IP range. So say for example, subnet 1 is having 2 instances, and these 2 instances are attached to a particular security group. After that, we have a network access control list, NACL. For each subnet we have a different NACL. What this NACL does is, it is kind of a first layer of defense. So actually we have 2 layers of defense. The first one is the network access control list, that is the first layer of firewall. The second firewall comes in the security groups. For example, if you are working in a company and the company will be having a particular virtual private cloud created for its use, and so you will be asked to create all your instances within that VPC. Now in that VPC, the company will be specifying some network access control rules. Even if you want somebody from outside the VPC to access your instance, you won't be able to do that, because the first layer of defense, which is the network access control list, that won't allow you to do it. If it allows you to connect, then you have an additional option of the security group, so that is the second layer of defense. So if the network access control list is blocking traffic to a particular IP, then even if you try to allow it in your security groups, you won't be able to do it, because the first layer of defense is blocking it. Only if the first layer of defense allows that IP, then only you can allow it in your security groups. So these are the 2 layers of defenses. The next comes the route table. So the route table has routing to multiple devices. One more concept is that we have 2 types of subnets. One is a private subnet and the other is a public subnet. If you create your instances inside a private subnet, your instances won't be accessible from outside the VPC. For example, if you want to access it from internet, you won't be able to access it, and whatever applications or websites that you host in your private subnet, it can be only accessed within the virtual private cloud. Outside of that, nobody will be able to access it. The reason is, for a private subnet, the route table will not have a route which is pointing towards the internet gateway. So in order to be able to access your instances from outside the VPC, that is from the internet, your route table should have a route towards the internet gateway. Whereas in case of a public subnet, the route table will be having a route towards the internet gateway, and that will allow someone from outside the VPC also to connect to your instance. In our case, we have created the instance inside the default subnet, and the default subnet is nothing but a public subnet. That is the reason why I am able to connect to this instance from my system. Okay, so this is the basic idea about VPCs, subnets, security groups, network access control list, route tables. Now we have options to edit all these. So since we have selected all the default options, so we didn't go into that. But for advanced users, we have options to even edit the route tables, the NACL, the security groups. Security groups anyways we updated, so we have options for changing the route tables and changing the network access control lists. So if you are interested to know more about VPCs and subnets, then you can follow the link that I have given in the description.